5 fundamentals of golf. So number one most important thing about golf is good grip. If you don't have a proper grip, your dispersion is going to be much wider. So we want to make sure you get into a perfect grip position. So every time you hit the ball, your dispersion is going to be much narrower and you can hit the ball and more consistent ball striking every single time. First, I want you to make sure you can see 2 knuckles from the top of your view. I want you to make sure you can see 2 knuckles, which is more of a neutral grip, and your finger, left thumb, slightly on the right side of the middle of your setup. And then either you can do an interlock grip or overlap grip, or if you have a huge hand, I recommend baseball grip, but usually I recommend interlock grip. So interlock your hands with your pinky and your index finger of your left hand. And then I want you to fully cover your right thumb with your palm. So fully cover your right thumb with your palm. And then make sure your index finger is lower than your thumb. So not here, lower than your thumb, or at least in the same line as your thumb. And make sure there is little space between your middle finger and index finger. And then make sure there's not much space between your thumb and your index finger. So I don't want you to grab it like this. I want you to make sure, squeeze them together so there's not much space. And then when you look from the top, make sure your club face is square to the target, not open or closed. And then grip your club. And when you set up to the ball, make sure they're still square to the target. So second is the setup. By looking at your setup, I can tell if you're a good golfer or bad golfer. You got to have a good setup to have a good swing and good ball striking. So what I like to do with my student for the setup, so after we finish our grip, we keep our hands right in front of your belly button, so around 1 fist away from your belly button, and then slightly unlock your knees. I don't want you to start bending your knees. Slightly unlock, and then put weight pressure slightly in the middle or ball of your feet. And then without bending your knees, we're going to do a hip hinge until the club touches the ground. So make sure your chest and your belly button is facing the ground, not facing forward, facing the ground, and your hands and arm are falling straight down, not forward or closer to your body, straight down, and then grab the club. So here, slight bending of your knees and hip hinge. So I see a lot of golfers when they do a setup, after hitting like 20 to 30 balls, they start doing this. So make sure your legs are just slightly unlocked, and then enough hip hinge, and then chest facing down, and then I want you to have a lot of certain amount of angle on your wrist. I don't want to see this. So easiest way to do this is just do down. Weight pressure forward. So that is just the posture side of the setup. But posture is the most important thing in the setup. Next is the takeaway. So takeaway is when you put a alignment stick right in front of your feet, and then your shaft becoming parallel with the alignment stick. That's called takeaway. So there's 7 major things that I like to teach my student when they're getting into a takeaway position. But I'm just gonna teach you guys just 4 things today. So 4 major things. So make sure the shaft and the head is not behind the alignment stick as soon as you finish your takeaway. So make sure they're in front of your body, either in the front or at the side. And also try not to roll over your hand so your club gets behind you. So make sure the club is in the front. By not rolling over, I want you to start hinging your wrist instead of rolling over your wrist, because that's the most common mistake that my clients make, just rolling over their hand. Okay, so hinge and rotate, and make sure the club is in the side, not at the back. Okay, and then next one is I want you to have enough hip turn as soon as you get to your takeaway. So at least 20 to 45-degree hip turn. I don't want to see you guys doing this. Just using your arm. I want you to start using your body, hands, and the wrist at the same time. Third one is keeping your right arm slightly bent throughout your takeaway. So when you're in that position, make sure your arm is just slightly bent, not this. Because soon as your arm is straight at takeaway, your shoulder is gonna start to have a lot of tension on your shoulder. So you wanna make sure, relax your shoulder and slightly bend your arm. So this, not this. Last one is make sure when you're at the takeaway, your shaft is below your belt. I saw a lot of my students, they start doing a takeaway like this. You see the club is on top of my chest. So make sure to keep your hands low during the takeaway. Keep it low, not up. The fourth fundamental is the half swing. You gotta make sure you get to your half swing from the half takeaway to half swing in a proper swing plane and proper wrist angle. So I don't want to see any wrist rotation after you finish your takeaway and start doing a backswing too flat or too steep. I want you to get into a proper swing plane by rotating your body and doing a proper wrist hinge. So only thing that your wrists should do during your takeaway to half swing is just the wrist hinge. Just the wrist hinge back and forth. And then while you're doing this, we're just lifting our arm at the same time. Not. So it will look like this. Takeaway, half swing. Takeaway, half swing. Not takeaway, rotation, or takeaway like this. So another easy drill to work on this is just put one hand on the shaft, put your right hand on the shaft and start from this position, and I want you to tuck in your right elbow and do this. Instead of doing this, tuck in your right elbow from here, back, here, back. And then grab your club with your proper grip, and this is where your back half swing should look like. So 1, 2, 3. And so fifth fundamentals of your swing is the downswing. Anyone can create a perfect takeaway, setup, and backswing, but always the hardest thing is the downswing, how you deliver your club towards the ball. So when you're at the proper half swing position, I see a lot of my students, they start using their right hand, start swinging like this. So using a lot of their right hand as the dominant arm and start using their wrist to hit down on the ball. But your golf is a rotational sport. You actually have to rotate your body throughout your swing, not chopping down on the ground or hitting down on the ball. So make sure when you're at the top of the backswing, start the swing from the ground, which is your knees and your toe, and start turning your hips, and only thing that your wrist and your arm does is just this motion. Just drop your arm towards your right pocket. 1, 2, 3. So 1, turn your hips, drop your arm, and so it will look like this. Backswing, turn, impact. Not backswing, using your right wrist and chopping down on the ball. So 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2. So yeah, I hope that helped you guys with learning about the fundamentals of golf. So make sure to work on these 5 fundamentals if you want to be a good golfer.